Good morning. Welcome to the HRart Rise Morning Show, my fellow heart workers, my people-driven leaders. I'm so excited that you're here and joining me live or watching the replay. Happy Friday. I hope you're having an amazing morning so far. I guess it has been. I haven't seen you since the virtual book launch celebration. It's like a mouthful. That happened last Thursday. It was an amazing event. My heart was just so full. I couldn't have planned a better experience to celebrate the book, which is right here, that I am incredibly proud of. And at the end, Dave Shivarini, who is the MC of the event, he's also the literal voice of the HR Intuitive. He's reading the book and recording it for Audible. He did a half an hour book reading, and to hear someone else read my words and to watch the reactions of people as they heard them, I mean, there's nothing that could make me happier as an author. So it was an amazing experience. If you were able to join us live, thank you for being there. I've also posted the replay of the entire 2-hour event on the HRart channel, so you can go ahead and watch that and check it out, because it was a beautiful event. That wasn't me doing all the talking, but others doing the talking and helping me to celebrate. So really is a game changer for me, and actually very relevant to what our topic is today, which is less is more. And so let's just take a look at what I've come to call now our heart chats, because that's really what they are, is me chatting with you from my heart about what's happening. So this is the blurb that I put at. I've spent most of my life believing that part of becoming an adult was magnifying the complexity in my life. Success was directly correlated to how much I had to do or was needed. When I was first introduced to the true philosophies behind Yin and Yang and finding the idea of achieving inner harmony, my mind was blown, and then I found myself completely lost. It made sense, but was so counteractive to how I lived. So where to begin? How do we go back? So that is the focus of our heart chat today that I want to share with you in regards to less is more. But before we get there, we got to do some posts to ponder. So posts to ponder for January 21st, 2021. This week, all of our posts are courtesy of Instagram and those I follow. Pretty excited about this because recently I've been hanging out on Instagram and found some really new, cool people to follow that have given me some really awesome posts to ponder. So let's check it out. So post number 1, it comes from handle Sasha Tazi. I have been loving what she has been posting, because I just realized in my post to ponder screenshots that I save in my phone, she is like a majority of them from the last week. But here's one. We give too many people the power to lower our vibrations. Stand true to your own frequency. One of the greatest reminders of someone who is awakening or opening up or becoming more aware to their surroundings and their energetic body, you will realize that we just expose ourselves and give people too much power to impact our energies and not protect our own vibration, because we're not taught how to do that, but it's absolutely occurring. And I don't know why I just said like 100 times when I was talking there, but I did. There I go again. It's like this weird but staying true to your own frequency. So a very powerful reminder, courtesy of Sasha. Post number 2, hashtag empath. Someone I don't follow. So it looks like the handle was Dion Page, but something caught my attention. Feeling safe in someone's energy is a different type of intimacy. That feeling of peace and protection is really underrated. My most valuable relationships, my most intimate relationships, the relationships where I feel the closest to the people, I have this level of intimacy. And we like to use the word intimacy and automatically connect it to physical intimacy. Intimacy is just about a deep connection, a different kind of bond that we have with someone. And it's accompanied with this safe space to be who you are. That regardless if you feel differently or you're on different energetic vibrations, it doesn't make you feel like you have to hide or protect yourself. In fact, the two people in my life that I am completely open with and have this safety with, they create this safety and this peace and this protection. I call them really truly my great protectors, because they are very protective about other people, and when they take advantage of my energy, especially when I think that I'm entering a safe space and I start to open up. So I do have a tendency to do that as I'm building relationships and establishing trust, and this intimacy is not developed lightly. And I love using that word intimacy because it just means it's something so sacred. When we just talk about relationships and trust, we read lots of things that make us think that we have to have it with everybody. Trust is essential. Building relationships is really important, but the depth of those relationships is different. And I think we need to talk about that. You don't have the same depth of relationship with everyone in your life. That would be, to me as the introverted person, exhausting to maintain. But we have to have these different levels of intimacy for us to survive, for us to have safe spaces, for us to really find that peace and protection. This next post I just found hysterical. #lightworker, handle astral dimension. So maybe the grass is greener over there because you're not over there effing it up. I blocked it up because this is a kid-friendly channel, so I don't try to use the bad language here. But thought this was hysterical. We always think that the other side is greener, especially talking about job transition. I've worked with prospective clients who aren't ready to start coaching, and they'll just make comments like, I'm just going to find another job. It's got to be better. Usually when you're coming and entertaining the idea of having a coach, there's some other deep underlying factors. And at the end of the day, yes, your employer contributes a great deal to your happiness and your success. There's a lot of different factors that they are responsible for, but your overall happiness and the way you experience that position is really made up of you. So there's something that you have to bring to the table. There's something that you are accountable for. And so I think this really lays that up clear. Are you really just working in an environment to suck all of it up and turn it into this negative thing and then move on to another environment where you do the same thing? Because your lens will transform everything that you are seeing. Number 4, #empath. Once again, Dion Page. Maybe I should go follow this person. Sounds like they're pretty cool. I don't hold grudges. You may not hear from me ever again, but we're good. So talking about those lower vibrations, different levels of intimacy and relationships, I don't have a lot of grudges with people. I have moments and encounters and experiences with individuals energetically where I understand that we will just never agree or see eye to eye again. And so my boundary is that we part and we don't engage anymore. So honestly, we're good. I don't sit there and stay up all night and think about you. Now, I will say that there's still experiences that I'm grieving. So there are lost relationships that I've had that I still have not unpacked and fully processed. So I wholeheartedly get why someone else might be grieving the loss of a relationship. It's not lost, it's just changed and evolved. And I am still grappling and trying to understand the relationships where the other person maybe is not holding any ill will, but decided that it's just not good for us to be in contact anymore as frequently as we were before. So, we always think about it as grudges, but sometimes it's just energetic shifts and dynamic changes that happen. And really, there's no ill will against you. This also, I guess, gives a little bit of an insight. If you haven't heard from me and we were in a relationship, then maybe it's just an energetic kind of shift. Doesn't mean that we might not reconnect later on. There's lots of people that I'm sad that we're not connecting the way that we used to, but recognizing that that's part of their path and honoring that and respecting that. And that's a thing that we have to do as human beings, as imperfect human beings, as energetic energies. We just have to realize that, yeah, we clash, we connect, we get along, we disconnect, we travel in different directions. That's just what we do. And last but not least, the Chi, which is actually a tea company where they use flowers to create tea. Really beautiful images. So check them out. But our bodies are our gardens, to which our wills are gardeners. William Shakespeare. Beautiful kind of quote to just end it on. But I love the imagery of our bodies are our gardens, to which our wills are gardeners. Our bodies are our gardens. Oh, can you just feel that? Oh, I feel that. I feel that like in my heart when I say that out loud. Okay. So today's Heart Chat's a little bit different, which I think is really funny because I finally found the word Heart Chat to kind of encompass these randomness sometimes, because sometimes there's these lessons, and if you go way back and you realize how I do kind of the syllabus for the HRart Rise Morning Show and what we cover every month, it really is intuitively driven. I don't really make a mass list of what I'm supposed to share. I use my chosen resource toolkit is intuitive card decks. I pick all kinds of different ones. I still have to pick a deck for February, but I pick a deck and then I use that as a way to generate topics, and then I'm intuitively guided into what I want to share. This week and even next week's Heart Chat, I definitely feel that I'm being called to be more in a teaching mode, which is weird because the lesson from this week is still something that I'm heavily in doing this work. I definitely have not mastered less is more. It was my mantra in 2020. It is my mantra in 2021. I have drastically achieved less. It's just still not to a place of inner harmony and balance. So I still know that I'm off, and there's still a lot more that I need to let go of. But with that being said, I do feel that today is more so about sharing some of those key things that I needed to understand and comprehend for me to start making the choices to start to release, and then also sharing with you where I started when I was completely lost and where to begin, because I think that that is something really powerful to share. Okay, so I'm going to share with you 3 points. We're going to start with point number 1, which is, what are we actually doing to ourselves? I have an image of a family tree because I think that this is a great time to just bring in this lesson, very basic, about this concept of Jing, which is our essence, our core kind of rooted energy from a Chinese medicine philosophy. And there's this concept of prenatal and postnatal Jing. The prenatal is what we bring with us into the earth, and the postnatal is what we accumulate while we are here at Earth. What was really cool about this concept, learning about prenatal Jing, is that this helps us to understand why there are some people that seem like they just have all the energy in the world, and why others are just really struggling to get through the day. And it wasn't really in correlation to age. So at age, we've seen all kinds of different pieces. The prenatal Jing really kind of opened up my eyes to all the possibilities of what impact our energy and how much we have to kind of use in our resource tank. So when we think about prenatal Jing, it's what mom and dad and their lineage have passed on if we're going to have really good, healthy, quality Jing. What the mother does during pregnancy, they believe, impacts this good quality Jing. And so the child is then born with this large amount. Now you could really unpack this and dive down your lineage and look at the traits, but I wanted just to go from the pathway of reflecting back. Were you truly an energetic child? And I'm saying energetic by like heavily energized. Like, I won awards labeled as the Energizer Bunny because in sports, because I just kept going and going and going and going. So if that was you, there's a chance that you had a large, abundant amount of prenatal Jing. The other piece of this is the postnatal, so cultivation. So also feeding into this is I was a super sensitive child. That's what started this whole kind of brand, is me opening that back up. So there's definitely a chance that I was intuitively, organically cultivating more energy just through the acts of play and what I was doing. So I can remember as a child spending a lot of time inward, which I know is very introverted in nature. But people would describe me as a highly energetic and social child. But if I think back on my memories, I remember being very inward, which is hence to possibly doing a lot of cultivation work through almost like a meditative practice that others were not aware of, which is a whole nother bucket. So I say all this because I built up this reservoir that once I hit adulthood, I could drain. So the beginning of my career, I could go really hard, really fast for long periods of time, and I could run that way. So less sleep. I remember at one time in my early, like my first HR manager job, I was at one point driving 2 hours each way as a commute. And so I would go to bed at like 7. I would wake up at like 3 to get to the office by like 6. It was ridiculous. But I maintained this heavy kind of workload. Now I'm in my mid 30s. I'm getting ready to go into my late 30s, but I'm in my mid 30s and I'm struggling with energy. I still think my energy is higher than what others might experience. So I still think I have that strong base that gets me there, but it's not anywhere where it used to be. That's a struggle. So I share this for you to kind of think back. You know, if you're struggling and you feel like you're just not as energetic as you were before, what is that benchmark for you? Think about how people described you as a child. You know, if you were someone who barely did anything as a child, you like to chill out, you watch a lot of TV, you did minimal kind of action, there is a chance that you were the opposite. Maybe you were slowly cultivating and you're actually in a really good space. You're on the right trend rather than the other direction. So you want to be doing more and more cultivation and keep doing what you're doing. So whether you're creative by nature, create more, because creating, you know, that's one of the beautiful things about creating art or music or any of those expressive arts is they are forms of cultivation. It's putting you in a state of flow that allows you to freely open and receive. And I think we underestimate that. So I even think about my brother, who is an artist. He is 100% a creator. He was active as a child. He then went through a period of time where I would say he was a little more chill. He liked to play video games. And now, you know, he is very reserved. He appears to be very connected, very, very methodical and intentional. And he creates a lot. So I think he's in a really great space from a lot of different perspectives, probably in a much healthier space than me. And I saw him embracing a lot of these, I would say, healthier wellness trends before me because he was just in that mindset. And I remember thinking, gosh, why are you, wheatgrass juice? Now I'm in a space where I definitely entertain all those ideas because I can see the benefits and know what they do. But he was definitely more connected than I was. So kudos, bro, if you ever watch this, which I know he probably doesn't because he's probably sleeping. All right, point number 2. How young-filled is your life right now? So we have to think about yin and yang is this great balance. Yin represents this femininity, this turning inward, this restorative aspect. Yang is this active lifestyle. It's associated with stress. So how much stress do you actually have going on in your life? That means anytime you physically have to react or emotionally have to react to a situation, that is stress. Beyond that, the physical stress that you put on your body. So I put on that screen not only just stress, but exercise. You know, when we're doing those things, that's a physical stress coming on the body. And for someone like me who is very yang filled from work, I could not even fathom going to the gym. In fact, when I go back to that time when I was driving 2 hours each way, I tried to incorporate a gym time frame in between the drives. So like leave office, go to the gym for an hour, and then drive 2 hours, thinking that it would just like pump me up. I remember wandering around that gym just so exhausted because my body was saying, please don't do physical stress on top of all the other stress that you've been doing to us. We can't take it. We need a different kind of restoration. The other image that I put on that card was of yoga. So there's a lot of yang style yoga, which has some yin pieces to it, but it's not truly yin. That's why I'm very passionate about the yin yoga that we do on Thursday nights. That's why I was pulled to that practice. It was a practice that made me settle, and I fought it initially because hanging out in a pose from 3 to 7 to 10 minutes sounded agonizing. But I've had some of the most powerful connected experiences in those poses, and it started. Like I started waking up and opening my mind when I was doing yin yoga. So that's a literal example of yin and yang. When you're doing yang driven yoga, the intent is, yes, if you can get really good and get in the flow, you can get into a meditative state. But for most of us, we're so focused on doing the pose, we're using it as a distraction. We're using it to entertain ourselves and to keep going through this aspect. And I say meditation loosely. So I'm talking about moments of connection. So I'm not saying that everyone needs to like peace out and go sit on a mountain for an hour in nature, which sounds amazing. But to meditate or fast, which are all extreme forms of a yin lifestyle. However, you do have to find ways to connect. And I think you can do that through simple acts of creation. So this is very unique to each of us individually. What we will do and what we will... how we find this balance, this inner harmony. There's no one answer. Like I can't say you need to cut all of these things because the balance for you is completely different for each of us. So we're all trying to find it. A balance for me could be 50 hours a week because of other things that don't fill up my bucket, but my work really fills up my bucket. It could be a 10-hour work week. So finding a way to creatively do that, which is why I think the entrepreneurial side of the work world is taking off because people are discovering they can work for 10 hours a week, make the money they're making for 60 hours a week because they're able to take care of themselves. So it's definitely very unique to yourself, but you need to take a yang inventory to fully understand where are you at? Where are you at with how much yang you got going on in your life to get a concept of how much yin you need to bring back. So we're going to move into point number 3, which is where do you begin? And I have this image of a bubble. We talk about boundaries. I like to think about this bubble. Like when we're thinking about finding balance, yin is about self. It is about the work that you need to do to show up at your best. And to protect that, you need to create this bubble around you, which we use a lot as empaths. So if you're an empathic person, you probably have been taught to create these protective bubbles. If you have done any kind of energy or spiritual work, my teacher, Gabby Bernstein, always talks about creating these energetic bubbles to really protect your energy as you're doing work in that space. So the bubbles are popular, and I think there's a reason to that. I think if you think of the idea that you have this bubble that is around you, and it should be one of those big bubbles, like the ones that the kids are always trying to make bigger and bigger and bigger because bigger is cooler when it comes to bubbles. In that space is your yin practice, which is the practice to take care of you. And if there's anything that Qigong has taught me as I've listened to my personal cultivation practices over the last 2 years, that looks different for every one of us. One of my colleagues can practice for 2 hours a day. Whew, I want to get to that place. I, on the other hand, might practice for 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, but then have small bursts of cultivation for 5 minutes multiple times throughout the day. So I'm more of a, I cultivate continuously in small bursts. So it's very unique. So figuring out what's in that bubble. So where do we start? I'm going to highly recommend intuitive based cards, finding ones that speak to you. So there's a whole world out there of intuitive card decks. So finding one that speaks to you, that you're comfortable with. But these really have allowed me to get out of my head, out of the pressure of trying to figure out where to start, and giving me a starting place. You know, what I want to believe, where it comes from. If I just want to believe that's complete randomness, okay. But it gives me a starting point. So when you use these, they're really driven by inner, they're driven intuitively. So basically, what you feel is right is what's necessary. You know, you want to set your intention, so kind of energetically put into the cards that you're looking to know, like, what do I need to release? Where do I need to set a boundary? What bubble do I need to, what do I need to add to my bubble for me that will materialize as a boundary that I need to set? And then you can shuffle. And always think that once you set the intention, what happens with the cards is intentional. So if a card falls out, if it jumps out, if you're thinking, what are the 3 boundaries I want to set, and 5 fall out, I always take all 5. So for example, I was shuffling and these 2 cards stuck out, and then I stuck them back in and they flew back out again. So I'm going to do that. And I know sometimes you'll believe, like, well, that's because there must be something off with the cards physically, from a detail perspective. I've thought that too, and then I go back and try to find the cards and they're always different. So noodle on that. Just kidding. So I have 2 here. So one says your hard work is paying off, and number 2 says believe in the impossible. So your hard work is paying off to me as an affirmation of where have I been working hard. So I've been working hard on this is just instinctively where my mind goes, organically, on my medical Qigong education, on training and learning. I have been throwing myself back in school, not in a traditional academic sense, but it is. It's wholeheartedly, it's like being back in college. That work is essential and important for me. And it affirms that, because every once in a while when I'm evaluating my priorities, like, should I be doing that? Plus I'm in a acupressure course as well. And it really has turned into, you have a variety of kind of electives. This says yes. So I need to make sure that I protect that, knowing that it is essential and it is important. So that is a priority. So I need to find a way to create space for that, because it's one of the things that I've actively been struggling is, where do my studies go in my week, because I have putting it down less than something that is directly tied to the business. You know, reading a chapter in my text is not an absolute essential. This says it is. So creating a boundary around that. Believe in the impossible. So when you have a vision for yourself, and I struggle with this, you know, I might share that with another person and they won't fully get it. And then I start to diminish my vision and think that maybe it's not possible, and I start having doubt. The only way that I can stay at that vibration is, for me, I do have to meditate. I do have to spend my time in a true meditative state for only like 10 minutes a day. You know, even 15 to 20 minutes a week is really, really valuable for me. And so this tells me that I got to create that space. So the boundaries here are revealing that these are two of the top priorities that I need to have now in regards to less is more, which is so true. I'm going to leave these out so that I take these seriously as a message and do something with that. But no pressure for me to decide what's first. These made a very clear pathway as to what is first. So that is my recommendation as to where to get started. The deck that I'm using is by Yasmin Bolin they're called Moonology Oracle cards. I'm a big fan of this. I don't know a lot about astrology, but I know enough from the last 5 years that what happens in the stars definitely impacts our energetic beings. So I'm trying to dive in a little bit more and get familiar with the terminology, and the moon phases has been kind of where I've started. So highly recommend that. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. The cards they're all beautiful. They're all these beautiful pieces of art. I love them. I love my card decks. So, yeah, those are my 3 points for less is more and where to get started, and giving you some things to think about. I'm sure this is a topic that's going to show up again, like many of them do, as I continue to learn and you continue to learn and we grow and evolve together. And let's look at next week. So what's my heart chat for next week? Where's my button? Oh, haha, button. So next week's Heart Chat, it is Vision Fest 2021 next week. This is the day that when we come together to engage in a process that I've come to call creating connected canvases. This practice has become an essential tool for me, staying in alignment with my connected path, and I'm going to share this practice with you. So as I hinted and made mention that today and next week I'm kind of in teaching mode, next week I'm going to share with you how we do connected canvases and why I think this is such a powerful tool. If you want to participate, we are offering virtual sessions next week. For $20, you can get in and then have access to the coaching aspect, which I think is some of the most difficult piece of creating the connected canvas. Is we can't get out of our mindset of what a vision board is or what it's supposed to be or how we're supposed to, and you can go through the entire experience with us. They're live, so they're live at 9, 2, and 7, I believe. We also have like a download kit. So part of the process is giving you access to a visualization exercise. We've done this every year for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And every time that I've done it with the visualization, it has elevated the outcomes of the canvases and what they reveal. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited to share that with you. But other than that, I got to peace out because I got an 8:30, so I got to run and stay on my time schedule. Have an incredible Friday. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.